Okay, so we're back with audience questions. Okay,
Right,
so
yeah.
I don't know what these are.
Cool.
So we'll go through them and see how we go on. So
Okay, cool.
these can sometimes be quite random.
Cool.
But, okay. If you could ride with one other person, excluding friends and family, who would it be, where would you do so, and what bike would you ride?
Okay. All right then. I would ride a Triumph Rocket with Elton John, and I would cross the states. And I would call us the Rocket Men. And it would be a hoot.
I will film that documentary for free. That would be amazing.
Okay. I would ride a Harley Davidson across the Sahara with Paul from Bake Off. I can't remember his last name.
Paul Hollywood.
That's the one, yeah.
Why Paul?
Why?
Well, because
Are you guys two up as well, just from my imagination?
two up.
Yeah.
Yeah, two up. I'm Pillion. He's like
Because you want to hold Paul Hollywood.
yeah. And because he's a good baker, and we'll be
Which is really important in Sahara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually do remember it was hard
The
to
bread
get
in
good
the
meals.
Sahara is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of round, flat bread
Yeah,
they
it
do in
is,
Sahara
yeah.
is gorgeous.
Paul would love it.
Yeah, exactly. He'd enjoy himself, and we'd go and find some fantastic bread.
Yeah.
So,
It's like we just made 2 brand new TV series.
They would be good shows.
Okay, don't know what to do with that information, so I'll just move straight on. What did you take with you, and how much did you need to buy when you're out there? How much did you need to buy when you're out there? How much did you take with you?
Oh, just stuff in general. We took loads.
yeah.
Because
I suppose you've got the room, haven't you? It's a
Yeah.
bit kind of generous.
We took 3 spare tyres because
There's 3 wheels.
3 wheels and all different sizes.
Yeah.
We took
Loads of garbage that we never used. Like,
4 60-litre bags,
yeah.
which is unnecessary.
Yeah.
But with a sidecar, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why.
But only thing you use is a credit card,
Yeah.
a passport,
And your
mobile phone.
and you're good.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that you kind of like, what do I take? I've got no ideas. I'll take absolutely anything and everything I can think
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Um,
And then bought stuff we actually needed as we went. So like when we were in Canada, we bought loads of cold weather gear to do Russia with. We got to Russia, all the Russians laughed at how bad the Canadians' gear was and made us buy some Russian gear, which was a lot better. Bought loads of appropriate things as we went on. Yeah.
Cool. What are your favourite scooters or motorbikes and why?
Ooh. Wow. Anything with a third wheel is good. Urals are fantastic.
Wait a second. Where could I buy a Euro? I wonder. If only I knew.
What I do quite like is I really like the bikes that I've sort of like had like in the past few years that re-emerged. They've got that sort of old schoolish look to them, which
Okay.
I guess the Euros do fit into. But more, I'm thinking like Royal Enfields and BSAs and that sort of stuff.
Kate's
Like,
just had a little kind of happy moment.
they just look quite cool.
Yeah.
Sort of bikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And you?
Oh, and me. Thing is, Tom, we don't actually get time for much leisure riding. We're always like, it's like working in a chocolate factory, but working on bikes the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm always riding the Ural, so then in the evening, I never sort of just like take out the scram for fun that we have.
I was,
Do you know what
I
mean?
was having
It's
this
like-
conversation the other day,
Yeah.
just because some customers are like, oh, it must be great working on a bike. You must ride all the time. It's like, God, no, I've got no time to ride at all. I wish.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I love the CRF we have. When we go off-roading on that, I mean, it's just completely forgiving for trail riding. You can just absolutely hammer it and be awful at off-roading, which I am, and it will still take you up the lane, so that's good. But honestly as well, I haven't ridden many bikes. Ridden a few sidecars and then been scared to ride other people's bikes because they fall over and they're completely not sensible because they they don't have the third wheel. So, yeah, it's dangerous.
Fair enough. I love how earnest you were there. They're just not sensible. I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoever reads this, you are mega love Claire. There you go.
Oh,
so you didn't read it, I did. So
That's nice,
sorry, guys.
mate. Well done.
Guess it's just me. Since entering the motorcycle community, what has been some of your highlight experiences with other motorcyclists?
That's a good question.
Ooh. Finding out it exists was the best one, probably. So, like, first off, just getting that nod and just thinking, nodding back and stuff. Like, we're all nodding each other. That's nice. Didn't know that happened.
I'm impressed that
Yeah.
you're on a scooter you're getting nodded.
Yeah,
back,
get the
because
nod. Yeah.
Quite a lot of motorcyclists are a bit snooty about that.
Well, there's a sidecar. So yeah, getting the nod. And then the first time we broke down and then had another biker just pull in and just say, like, you all right, sort of thing. And then starting to sort of come out the woodwork from there, I guess.
Yeah.
And just finding out it exists was like the biggest highlight for me.
Yeah, probably the same, but probably one of the nicest things was before we left for the trip, and we were literally a month away from going, and Paddy from the Overland event got in touch with us because he coincidentally we're both from our local town, Banbury is where he lives close to, and he saw us in the local paper, Banbury Guardian, about two like kids from Banbury going around on a scooter and sidecar, so he invited us to the Overland event. But we didn't know it existed. We didn't know where we were going to, and then we went there and it was really cool. And then just suddenly we were opened up to all these people who were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine." You know, this has been happening for years, and we were like, we had no idea at all that this sort of thing happened whatsoever.
Yeah.
Didn't know about Hub or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it was quite an eye-opening thing. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How long after passing your bike test did you take the combo out? And how long did it take before you felt the outfit wasn't trying to kill you? I mean, just to expand on that. I mean, I've ridden a sidecar twice, and it's a completely different to riding a bike.
Yeah, it is.
Not only because it doesn't lean, but if you accelerate, it wants to go one way, and if you brake, it goes the other way. So sometimes you actually need to accelerate around a corner, other's you won't get around it because braking will make you go the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's a completely alien experience.
Yeah.
100% it is.
It is completely different, isn't it? Yeah.
It's and it's one of the things that like some people just can't compute it whatsoever. They can't make the transition. They actually say some people say, not they actually, some people say that it's easier to try to transition if you've not been riding bikes that long. So at the time, because you're not used to like the natural sort of, so we passed our tests about 4 months before we went on the trip, and 6 weeks before we left, we went to the Overland event, and we took the scooter and sidecar, but we were too scared to ride it, so we put it on the back of my dad's truck and took it there.
Too scared to ride it, but in a few weeks I'm going to take it around the world.
We were still at that point, yeah. So
I remember there was a time when we were in Greece. It was Italy.
Italy.
And we still couldn't ride it.
Yeah.
We'd got to Italy and we were like, honestly, I remember Reese pulling off on the side of the road and being like, I just can't do this. We started getting slow speed wobble.
Yeah.
And what we learn is from motorbikers, you get a wobble, you kind of think, oh my god, I'm going to die, because you get like fast, you get that high speed. I wouldn't know, I've never been fast. But then at low speed, you just have to power out of it, and so you get like 20 miles an hour and it disappears. But at the time, we didn't know that, so we were going along at like 15 miles an hour, like I cannot ride this thing.
Did you do a lot of kind of weight distribution with your luggage and things to try and see whether, or did that not occur to you at all?
So we put it on.
Yeah, we kind of just put it on. We ended up. We got to Croatia, and we were staying at a guy's house called Rod Young, who used to build sidecars in the UK, and so he said come and stay, and we got to his, and he just sort of was like, what on earth are you doing? They saw everything about our whole setup and everything like that. He just was baffled by, and so we spent 2 or 3 days just repacking, readjusting everything appropriately. We actually had, when we got there, we bought a tool box, And rather than like we just taking the toolbox and like who would ever like take a proper toolbox, literally like a massive thing on the back, and he was just like, you're just complete idiots, yeah. So,
so you just got a toolbox and chucked it on the back?
well, we had like
Strapped it on.
yeah, right.
Well, so you didn't like, I'll take the tools I need out
No.
Didn't know what we
and
did.
then
didn't know
put
what
them
they
in a
did.
nice lightweight
Yeah,
tool
yeah.
roll.
We
You
genuinely
went,
didn't know what they did.
No, yeah.
We didn't know how, which way does it go, like the ratchety thing.
Yeah.
Didn't know how that worked.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless.
Yeah.
We genuinely knew nothing about
Yeah,
mechanics.
yeah.
I mean, I knew you guys were underprepared when you went. I didn't realise quite how underprepared you were.
Yeah, it was really stupid. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that was the luck on the
Soon
sidecar.
learn, yeah.
Pack more.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the worst interaction you've had with someone while travelling? Is it when you?
He was a nightmare.
But you didn't care.
Worse
You don't get many with scooters and sidecars. I think the worst, most annoying thing that happened was we were doing the Lagunas route, which is this off-road gnarly route through the Andes. And you might have seen it if you just seen the long way up. Charlie and Ewan did it on those electric bikes. And we'd done it, almost finished, coming out the other end. It was the hardest thing we'd ever done in our lives. And we didn't get the proper camera out the whole time because we were knackered. So we took all the pictures on the one phone that had some battery left, which was Reese's. And we hadn't seen anyone in like 2 days, like nobody at all. And Reese dropped his phone out his pocket. And about 2 minutes later, a Land Rover flew past and they'd picked his phone up on the floor and nicked it. And we lost all the pictures from that part of the trip. And we hadn't seen anyone in 2 days. It just happened the one person was a complete idiot, like, just nicked our phone. So that was probably the only thing I could think of where someone wasn't nice to us on the trip.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
But he just because he didn't meet us, or else he would have been a good egg.
But I think that's one of the misconceptions about people who haven't done a huge amount of travelling. You know, you get all these kind of scare stories. You
Yeah.
know, and actually, I mean, I don't think I've had any real bad issues when I had a rock thrown at me once. But,
Yeah.
you know, seems reasonable. I would.
Yeah, whereabouts was that?
That was some
Swansea.
kids playing actually in Morocco.
Yeah.
They were kind of playing at the side of the road, and they were throwing. They were like little things, but it hit me on the helmet, and I looked at them, and they went. Obviously, didn't think they would actually. They obviously had no faith in their own throw. And they're like, sorry. So, and then we stopped and said hello and gave them some pencils. They were really chuffed.
Yeah, they did it in Ethiopia actually, a lot of that. A lot of
Yeah.
rock throwing, but they meant to do it. And
Yeah.
it was like, for us it was fine because you hit the accelerator, but we were like, when we were broken down in Gondar, you'd have a lot of cyclists come through, and they'd come through with like cut legs and that sort of stuff. And we worked out that it was literally the kids they thought they were playing, but they obviously it was hurtful. And there was this one cyclist who came through, and he was so sick to the death of it, he'd got a stick that he was whipping the kids as he went along, and he hit so many kids with it, he ended up taping the stick back together because it had been breaking. And on top of that, he had a slingshot, so he could aim the rocks back at them as he was going along.
Yeah.
And we were just like, you've gone too far.
Gone way too far. Pascal.
you need to go home now.
Yeah.
What do you see yourselves doing when you're 60 or 70?
Riding sidecars.
Yeah, man, all the way.
Yeah.
Pedaloing. No.
Yeah.
No idea. Absolutely none.
To be fair, you've got to where you are clearly with no idea where it goes.
Yeah.
No plan. You've just ended up here
Yeah.
out of pure luck, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, if you'd said, I didn't think I'd be. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I would be driving. Would have had ridden a sidecar around the world. It wasn't like on the agenda, so I guess it changes. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess something to do with this, maybe.
Yeah. Keep doing adventure travel stuff. I'd like to keep doing the festival.
You get caught in it, don't you? And there's like such a nice community
Yeah.
that you sort of feel like you want to sort of continue around that in some sort of
Yeah.
fashion.
Yeah.
And like even with like doing this now, like we decided to go around the world in 2015, and now it's 2023, and then you sort of think like, I don't know, when do I give it up? When do I stop?
Yeah.
Like when do you stop with something you just keep plugging away at? Do you know what I mean? It's
You just keep going.
yeah, like
if you like it as well. I mean, why
yeah,
not?
exactly, yeah. So,
Okay. How do you deal with refueling? Did it impact your route? Or is there? That's the second question. So I'll ask second question in a minute. So yeah, refueling. I mean, you've got this. Well, I don't know if you've got all these toolkits, you might not have space for extra fuel.
We had loads of space. I mean, to be honest as well, we weren't going into the wilderness much. I mean, even going around the whole world, there's lots of people on Earth now. So you're never that far from people if you want to be. And with the scooter and our ability to fix it, we didn't want to be away from other people much. So we just stuck to the roads, really. Apart from the Andes, where we did that off-road bit, we stuck to the main roads through countries, which was sometimes a couple of 100 miles before you found some more fuel or something. But a few Coke bottles full of fuel, and that'll take you there. Yeah.
It's amazing when you pull up to the petrol station, you're like, doesn't look, you're like, well, there's no petrol pump, and they just walk out with Coke bottles full of fuel.
Yeah.
Okay, the second question there, was there anywhere you wanted to visit but couldn't?
Well, Alaska, wasn't it?
Alaska, definitely.
Yeah.
I think, like, going back to before, like, I reckon that could definitely be a trip in the future, like doing that.
I'd love to do Alaska.
Yeah, I'd love to get there, especially because we got so close. The other one actually was we didn't end up doing Central America. And so that kind of like North American whole thing, apart from Mexico and the United States and Canada, is all a bit like, didn't feel like we got the maximum out of it. Yeah. And the reason we didn't do Central America was because we were, at the time we got to Colombia, we were going to ship run the Darien. There was basically, Nicaragua was like on the brink of civil war, and so we were reading a lot of forums, and overland travellers were really struggling to get through because essentially they weren't like attacking tourists or anything, but they were digging up roads and stuff like that in protest at the government, and they were blocking roads and stuff like that. So then anyone who was able to get through was off-road the whole time, and we just done the Lagunas route, and we'd finished that with like 3 of the 5 sidecar joints snapped, and we were lucky to have the bike still working. And so we knew if we had anything significant again, we'd be in big trouble. So we basically, and we couldn't go around it because obviously it's literally Panama, then I think it's Nicaragua, and there's not an alternate country. So the only other option was to ship round to Mexico, and then we were going to drive down into Central America and back up, but the shipping was delayed for months, and we knew we had to continue going north because it was going to go to winter, or we wouldn't be able to get to Alaska. And then we never got to Alaska anyway because we broke down before it. Yeah,
so it was all useless. And Mongolia and India and Australia and all those places. Yeah. Every other place I haven't been on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nepal, I recommend.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
To ride motorbikes in Nepal is amazing. Yeah. Okay, what piece of equipment on the rig stroke bike would you fit if you did the trip again?
Ooh.
That's a good question. The roof.
The roof.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very practical.
It was really practical,
It made you look like Postman Pat.
Yeah.
It was very practical.
Yeah, the roof, and it made it...
Why did you put a roof on it?
Why?
Yeah.
We put a roof on, I think, because someone told us you needed a roof because...
Someone told us we needed a roof, so we put it on.
Yeah. I think someone said you needed a roof because of the fact that that sort of scaremongering thing whereby we were told you could, I don't know, people put like wires in the road, if I remember rightly, and the person who gets hit by a wire on the bike, they'll fly off, but if you're in the chair, you'll just get collared. So we were like, okay, we'll fit a roof, so we're protected a bit. That was the idea, something weird like that, like we'd be stuck in the chair and not safe without it, is where it came from. Vaguely, I remember that. And then so we fitted the roof after the bike, but then it became hugely practical because if it was ever, if it was raining or anything like that, it was extra storage. We put the wheels on top and stuff, and it was nice to have coffees on. So the roof, I think.
The roof.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good on
So
you.
what would? So you had a roof.
Yeah.
But that was what would you?
Oh, that's what we
differently?
fitted. To be fair, it was an accessory that was fitted after.
Yeah, but what piece of equipment on the rig would you fit if you did the trip again?
Well, you'd fit a roof, wouldn't you?
I'd fit a roof.
But you've already got a roof.
No. To that rig.
Oh, that rig.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, got you. Yeah, you've got that horribly wrong. That question,
my apologies.
Mate. I would fit a heated seat in the sidecar because I know you can get them now, and it would have been bloody gorgeous in Siberia. So heated seat.
Then you would have been fighting over who was.
We were already fighting over that. Well, actually, no, because in the sidecar you thought you might die, and on the bike you knew if you were going to die. But you couldn't see in the sidecar. So You still wouldn't have been fighting for it, but you'd have been warm, crying and sad.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Have you had any life-threatening crashes?
No.
No.
No, that was
That's easy.
That was an easy
But
one.
no, I do think that's partly to do with the fact that we were on a sidecar.
Three
Yeah.
wheels.
And that's
mate.
Three wheels, yeah.
No, joking aside, but one of the things I do really think was a benefit of it was that once people saw us, they loved it, and so we always got more time on the road. They always gave more space on the road. And it was just like one of that thing that it was like no one could unsee us. So I don't know, maybe I guess you could take it from both ways because they're looking at you rather than looking at the road. But equally, people always knew we were. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
We always
But
felt-
sometimes they were driving along next to you on the highway in America, seemingly no hands on the steering wheel, like taking a picture of you. You're like, it's on the road, you idiot. Like, jeez. Yeah.
Okay, what's the most dangerous situation you've been in, and what happened?
Ooh, a lot of danger stuff.
People want to know the horror stories.
There's a few, a few dangerous ones from the trip. I mean, the most dangerous period of time was Siberia, but there's a couple of things on the trip. Probably the most dangerous literal moment was when we were camping in the Sahara, and we both had horrendous food poisoning the night before, and we were up all night wild camping in the Sahara, digging up holes in this poor farmer's land, and it was gross. And we woke up next morning and came out of the tent, and we were both kind of like pretty dazed. And as we came out of the tent, I saw something shoot up the back of Reese's leg, and he sat down at the same time. So I said, just like, stop there a minute, let me have a quick look around you. Hearn had a quick look around him, nothing there. I said, all right, stand up just to be sure. And as he stood up, in the crevice of his knee appeared this scorpion, just sort of waiting and ready to go. So I was like, Reese, stay very, very still. You've got a scorpion on the back of your knee. And to my amazement, he did stay still. I wouldn't have. I'd have freaked out. And I flicked it off with a lighter, and we like chucked it away, and then it wouldn't leave us, and it kept scurrying back into the tent.
Oh, they're terrifying, aren't they?
It was horrible. So we kept chucking it away, and in the end, we had this horrible in-betweeners moment where we bludgeoned this scorpion with the camping mallet, which I'm not proud of, but it was life or death.
That's the thing. They said the smaller they are, the more dangerous as well.
Well, we Googled it. We got to Gondar in Ethiopia and we Googled scorpions around the Nile. And the first one that came up was identical to it, the death stalker scorpion, which was known for killing young people and old people and ill people around the Nile.
Yeah.
And we both had food poisoning and were really weak.
Yeah.
So,
And Reese is generally really weak. So,
yeah,
I saved his life that day
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I remember we were on a campsite when I did Dakar Dream series with Graham and Danny John Jules, and there was the three different mentalities of us. It's ridiculous. So we saw this scorpion, and I was like, "Is that a scorpion?" And everyone was like, "Yeah." So I shined a torch at it, and now most animals or anything like that, you shine a torch and it like backs away. This saw the torch and went, "I'm having that," and just started coming at us like this. At which point, Danny got into his tent and zipped it up really quickly, and then refused to come out for the rest of the night. Graham went, "Don't worry, I'll stamp on it," and then remembered he had bare feet. He was literally like that, and then remembered he had bare feet. While I'm with a torch running around going, I did not sleep well that night. It was horrible. But again, that was we dropped a stone on his head.
Oh yeah,
But
did
you have to.
Yeah.
Because they're horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Insurance. Who was the best company? I feel like there's someone who works for an insurance company here, hoping that you can use it as a soundbite.
And I mean, to be honest, most of the insurances, once you get out of Europe, they're just literally every single country. You kind of get your insurance kind of as you go. It's just like
It's just so the guy at the border can make a tenner.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust them.
You don't think you're ever going to claim on it.
The insurance we got in the States was like, we got this in like a company in, I think, Mexico, and I'm pretty sure it was not worth anything. But it was more so like, if we got pulled over by police, we could be like, we have got some.
Yeah.
But had we actually had an incident, I seriously doubt that would have covered us in any way, shape or form.
We were just insured for the UK, weren't we?
Yeah.
We just had debit.
Yeah.
Okay, so what bike or sidecar would you recommend for a newbie? A Ural.
Wow. All day long.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think just the bike you can get. Anything, really. If you can get on 2 wheels or 3 wheels. You just ride it, and that's enough, I think. Just whatever you can afford, get your hands on, ride off on.
I do think in general, though, obviously the big thing about bikes, like just solo bikes in general, is obviously the smaller bikes are really popular at the moment, and that kind of like I think makes a lot of sense, especially if you're doing like a big trip, because like if you drop it or something in the middle of nowhere, then you're in. If you can't pick it up, then you're in trouble, sort of thing. So
it's like one of the most fun trips I've ever done was I've done lots of the TET in the UK, and we did the TET on 125s. And I had a Herald Maverick that's sitting over there. It's a little 125 Herald Maverick.
Right.
And I've ridden that big thing off-road and stuff like that a lot. But the most fun I ever had was me and two mates. We were on 125s. I was on that Herald. Brand new, it's about $2 and a bit grand.
Yeah.
If you drop it, it's not an expensive bike. If it breaks, it's unbelievably easy to fix. If it falls over, it's really light to pick up. And actually, just the whole thing was just so much more fun because there wasn't that extra stress of if the bike falls over, it's going to be heavy or any of that stuff. It's just
lightweight bikes all the way.
Yeah.
Or really heavy Euro.
or a complete opposite, a really heavy Euro. Let's talk about Euros for a second then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Because I can tell you're itching.
No.
So, because Urals are kind of one of the best known sidecar.
It's very few.
They're really the only few people that really make. Do they make normal motorcycles too?
No.
No, but they did originally, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might come up later. Are they the ones that have reverse gear? Or is that an option reverse gear and things like that?
All have
And
reverse gear.
is it two-wheel drive as well?
Engageable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's
So why would you not use the two-wheel drive?
for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Okay, why would you
It's
use
got no
the two-
differential on it, so it just goes in a straight line.
Yeah.
Right.
It just turns at the same speed, and you can't really steer. You can try, and you can like power slide round a muddy corner. It's really fun, but you can't physically really steer. Whereas one-wheel drive, you've got like full control of the bike, like you would a normal motorbike and sidecar. With that whole thing we like.
So why would you use two-wheel drive then?
If you're off-roading?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately they're adventure sidecars. So
Yeah.
their purpose is for like green lanes and that sort of thing. So if you get stuck or something, like you'd have a problem without that sort of thing. So it's when you get stuck and that sort of stuff.
Or anticipate getting stuck.
Yeah, they're really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have to come down with one of your sidecars, and we'll take
Yeah,
on
we
some
will,
of the-
yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
take
it'd be
on.
fun.
fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take on some of the routes around here. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be
And we'll all
fun.
laugh at you.
People usually do.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, we'll go back to the
Yeah.
bike sidecar you recommend for a newbie. If you were looking at getting into sidecars and things like that,
Yeah.
is there a good second-hand market for sidecars?
You know what? Yeah, there is. You just have to be really careful what you buy, because a lot of second-hand sidecars are stuff you find on eBay. It can be stuff that someone called John has just bolted to the side of a bike in his garage, and it's just some dodgy bolts he had in the barn. Like, there's no laws around it in the UK. In Germany, you'd know it was real, but in the UK, it could be anything. It could be some bloke called Charlie you met in a bank.
The law of it is literally the law of it is literally the equivalent of a trailer.
Yeah.
So it's just down to the responsibility of the owner.
Or a bigger mirror,
wow.
or whatever. So it's an accessory. It's just a motorbike. You can put anything on it. So you just have to be careful what you buy. But there are some good second-hand options. And if you want to just do road stuff, there's absolutely tons. There's Watsonian, there's F2, there's you can get like the Velarex sidecars, and all kinds of different things you can buy. But if you want to do off-roading, then yours are probably pretty much the only thing you can do. So,
Cool. Right, let's see if we can get a few more of these, because there's a few more to be done. I want to get as many as we can.
Cool.
Did Border Control have any issues with such a unique mode of transport?
No, it gives you all the power in the
Yeah,
world,
it
because
does,
they don't know what the law is around it. So you just tell them this is the law, and then they go, okay, welcome.
Fantastic. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I've asked someone else.
You're like
fine.
a Jedi Master.
Yeah.
You will let me through.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah. We had a funny one in Malawi, didn't we?
Yeah, funny one in Malawi. It was a 2-week. It was a 1 week. It was a transit visa. If you're in a car, you get 2 days. If you're on a bicycle, you get 2 weeks. So we convinced the border guards that it goes the speed of a bicycle, and they gave us a transit visa for 2 weeks. And we bluffed the first guy, and he said, okay, I'll take you to the general's office and you can explain to him. At this point, I'm already in the lie. So I'm sat outside the general's office, who was flipping scary, and telling him that my motorbike went 5 miles an hour. And he didn't believe me, but he just laughed and gave me a 2-week transit visa. So, yeah, I got through.
Okay, so your favourite piece of kit or clothing?
Mobile phone. Does everything.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
It depended where we were, but like the boots we switched out in Russia were game changing. We got some like oil rigging boots in Canada to take, and our feet after about 5 seconds were freezing. And then we were about 3 weeks in, and we were staying with these guys in Novosibirsk, and it was about -37, and they were like, "Are you seriously in those boots?" And they took us to a boot shop with proper oil rigging boots, and they just changed the second half of going across Russia completely.
Yeah.
And they're honestly, they're like, you'd think we're Martians when we walk around in those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
I use them as my slippers now.
We've kind of covered that one. We've got worst incident, scariest moment, but I think we've covered
Kind of
that.
covered that one, yeah.
Covered that one. Sorry if you've written that. We've kind of covered it. Did you have any competitions during the trip? Like furthest ride in a day, etc.? Competing with yourself?
We
or
did
with
do
each
that
other?
kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, like the furthest ride in a day thing was, we always thought like, how far can we clock up, or how far can we do? And then we got our hand forced in Colombia. We had to do 800 kilometers in the day to make it to the border, didn't we? To make it to the border in time to ship the bike. And that was an absolute killer. On
But
the
yeah, it didn't.
sidecar.
Edgecombe might not seem loads like a soda, but it was also like that the whole way.
Yeah.
So we set off at about 4 in the morning and got there about 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, just because we had a ship we were missing.
Yeah, yeah.
We also had competition between ourselves. We had it was 70 all at chess by the time we got home.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And that shows how bad we were at chess. It was just the law of averages. We got lucky. Yeah.
Okay, so last one, but there are 2 questions here. How long did it take to prepare the visa applications? And what advice do you give to others who intend to embark on such a journey?
Visa applications were largely like it kind of depends where you go. Some places were a nightmare. Russia we had to go home for because you have to do biometrics and you can only do it in your country of origin. We tried everywhere, you couldn't do it.
So you flew home from Canada, did it?
Yeah,
And
literally had no other choice. We couldn't get in otherwise. So it was like one of those we had to.
That didn't affect the Guinness World Record?
No, because it was a legitimate reason. So as long as you had a legitimate reason as to why you did something, it was fine.
And also the bike was on the boat to go into Vladivostok.
Yeah,
So the trip wasn't waiting for us. We were still waiting for the bike was still moving.
Oh, so you flew home from Canada and then flew from the UK to Russia?
Yeah.
To Russia, and the bike was still in transit.
But literally only because we needed that visa. We couldn't have got it otherwise.
Yeah.
But then most visas were fairly easy going. It depends. Sometimes it's just luck, though. To be honest, like you can definitely do your research, but then things change. Like the reason we went to Russia in the first place is because originally we were going to go to Singapore and drive home from there. But about 2 weeks before we were due to ship the bike, the Iran laws changed on people from the UK driving their vehicles across Iran. They didn't allow it anymore. So our hand got forced and switching to do the Trans-Siberian Highway. So that was like, the game changed all the time. But then even like going down for Africa, it was fairly straightforward getting our visas when we were going from like Egypt, Sudan to Ethiopia, but only because we were going south and the borders were going south. Had we been going north from Ethiopia to Sudan or something, we'd have to ship our passports off, just because for some reason going the opposite way is complicated, but going the other way is not. So it's a hard one to work out. But if you've got a bit of time, it's all quite manageable. Yeah.
And the best trick actually is if you can be Irish. That's perfect. Everybody loves the Irish.
Yeah.
Every border, like the Irish, go come in for free if you're Irish. It's fine.
Yeah.
So and don't be American. God, Jesus. The visas for the Americans were hugely expensive. Yeah.
I had a weird one when I was in India because we've gone Nepal, India, Bangladesh, and when we went into Bangladesh, I flew home from Bangladesh, but because I didn't fly in, I came across the border, and it was a land border that no one ever used. They would take your name and all your details when you enter the country, and then once a month they'd bundle it all together and send it off. But like a week and a half later, I'm at the airport and they're going, according to this, you'd never entered the country. So I was called into office, it'd be with people with big guns. I was going,
Really?
yeah, it was really scary. Okay, and the last question on here is, how many hours did you ride for per day?
Ooh, eight-ish or something.
Yeah, I mean anything 8 and 10. Yeah, they were like full. It was pretty much like every day was like on the road at 8, finished by 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah.
Did you always just find somewhere random to camp, or did you know where you were going to stay at the end of the day?
We always had ideas.
Yeah.
But like quite often it would just end up like that's not worked out. We'll do something else.
Yeah.
Something.
If it goes well, we'll make it to there. If it doesn't, we'll make it to there.
Yeah.
Or just sleep by the bike. It was,
Yeah.
Lots of sleeping by the bike, to be honest, wherever we sort of ended up landing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right then,
Cool.
we're going to have another little break.